Brand here.
Hi, this is Gil Kramer.
And we're continuing our review of Anthony Cummins' illustrated guide to Viking martial arts. And today we're going to cover an interesting technique, and we did something like that in one of our old
Yeah, we
videos.
did. Viking. Oh no, it was Samurai versus Ninja
Spartan.
Yeah,
Spartan versus Ninja slash Samurai.
That's
And the reason
right.
we did that is because, yes, a lot of times the Samurai were Ninja.
Right, or they carry weapons like Bushurken.
They were not
on them,
peasant class.
and they would
yes.
tend to throw things into people's feet. And
They described
today-
shuriken being thrown into hands and feet if someone were armored, or of course the face if the face was uncovered.
Right, and of
That's
course
why we
here
did it.
In Anthony's book, he's described a very similar technique with the use of an axe.
Out of the sagas, it's one of the only references to a hand axe, possibly a fighting axe held in the offhand that you could parry with and fight with, like this, that was thrown and into the foot, surprising the opponent, and then he was finished with the sword in the main hand. Or it could have been a small Francesca style axe or a Viking throwing axe or small hand axe. It could have even been a tool type axe, like a woodworking axe that the guy was fighting.
It could also be something like one of these modern SOG style tomahawks.
This technique would work with it for
It
sure.
would work with your modern day
I'm not worried
weapons.
about
So
But anyway, here's the depiction in the book where Anthony's got it being thrown into the foot. And what we're going to do is go over the different variations of how we think it would have to be done to pull off. I mean, heck, this technique, you could do it by pulling out your sax and throwing that into the foot. I'm
yeah.
pretty sure it would work just as well. You know?
I think that you would have
Yeah.
a lot of variety and options with this technique, and that the axe is not your limitation. And the only reason that that's a limitation in this book or even in the sagas, because that's the only documentation that we actually discover about it. I'm sure this has happened many times in history. I don't think that's the only
Where someone's
incident.
attacked an uncovered foot, because the Vikings had their shoes weren't very protective. So no matter how much mail the man was wearing, or a helm or helmet, greaves, he could have had leggings on, legs wrapped,
Right.
bazabons, forearms, whatever, what have you. Even maybe some gloves with mail on the back or something, or bone. To help protect his hand, he probably would have had the top of his foot exposed.
Right. Well, I think today what we're going to do for you guys is we're going to show you how to pull this technique off,
And what not
kind
to
of
do.
timing and distance you need. Exactly what not to do, but what timing and distance you need, what kind of technique you're going to have to use. Because again, I cannot emphasize enough how nice the artwork and the illustrations are
Oh,
in this.
most definitely.
But I think that anybody that's taking a martial art out of a textbook will feel like the kid out of Karate Kid learning out of the YMCA book.
You can learn from books and stuff, but you need to actually apply it and learn how to do it yourself. You actually have
You need
to
to
do
see it in motion, and I think that's what we're here to do for you today, is to show it to you in motion.
Also, I would like to point out that it's one of the only saga references to somebody throwing an axe. So you see these in movies where they always throw the axe into somebody. And you see them throwing axes in different movies. They talk about them having axe throwing competitions, but an axe being thrown in
Oh,
combat.
kind of like in Ernest Borgnine's Vikings when he threw the axe.
Well, it
at
actually
the
was Kirk Douglas, and the hair was pulled out.
Well, yeah,
between
I mean,
braids.
you just think Ernest Borgnine when you watch the film.
Right,
You're
right.
right, but he threw that sideways type.
And the
throw.
ones we're going to bring that up in a minute
Yeah.
too. So yeah, but we'll go over it, and that's basically what we're going to do today.
Yeah. Well, let's get to work.
All right, let's go. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to use a small axe that would be used for like working, usually not fighting for long reach or parry, but he might have used a Francesca, which the enemy, the Saxons, the Angles and the Saxons do document that they threw 1 to 2 of these when they were going into battle against shield walls to damage them. So Vikings did use these type axes for throwing. We know that documented from their enemies, not from them in the saga. So what we're going to do here is see if we can reenact that same move, which we've already determined that throwing it end over end, the handle's in the way. There's no way to hit the foot. And you'd have to throw it such a distance away to get the full revolution with any size axe that, you're not going to be able to get to the guy quickly and attack him if he did hit his foot. You'd probably have to throw sideways if you were going to try that, but the guy would be so far away it's not worth it. So what we've come up with is we assume that it's like an attack to the leg, but without a revolution and thrown directly into the foot. He could be standing here with his shield, but he wouldn't be able to move the shield down in time to stop it. So what we're going to do is go ahead and take a whack at it and see how this works. Like he just pulled this out, had it. What we'll do is just take this, act like we're doing an attack to the leg or something, which you'll think the shield can cover that. But we're going to just let it slide out of the hand and go into the foot. Just like come down, toss, boom, the foot's now injured. When that foot's injured, even if he had his shield, let's say he had his skeleton, his foot's now hit. If he dropped that shield trying to defend against that, you'd have your attack just like in the book.
Yeah.
So I can see how that could work in that manner. Just the flipping end over end, no way you're going to hit the foot because the handle's always going to be in the way when it's coming down to hit. The only way you can do is sideways. If you threw one of those sideways type shots, like let's say out of the Vikings we brought up earlier where you cut the braid, you would have to be so far back that you
It's
would be
not
able to
worth
get
the
there in
attack.
time to, yes.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the way it was done. I think that we figured it out here, and it could have been an axe like this, and we'll experiment with some different axes.
Yeah, let's try a few.
All right.
We're here with a slightly more modern, actually not slightly, it's a very much more modern version of the hand axe, the tomahawk. This is an SOG tomahawk. You can do the exact same technique, and this I think is a little better for contemporary society. I think the technique that's being taught in Anthony Cummins' book and that we read about in the sagas is valuable even today. You can even use it with a weapon like this. As Thran said, you know, the idea here is it's from an inside to out motion, like you're chopping at the leg, and you just kind of let it go into the foot, and you kind of squat down into it to shorten the distance into it. So you're shortening the distance to that squat, it kind of just sticks it right in.
And if I was standing here to reiterate the thing,
Yeah, there you go.
there
Add a
you
little-
go. That would have been straight through my foot. He just foot that's forward. I don't know
And
if you can see.
all it takes after that, if he,
And he's actually quite out of range if he does it properly.
right, if it's pop,
He can even be defending. Throw it into my foot.
Pop,
Now
down.
I'm at this kind of situation going,
and then clip.
right. 'Cause
it's
it's
all
probably
over.
going to totally distract him if this goes through his foot.
But this is okay.
That's a decent thing.
You know, now we've shown you to do that left-handed as an offhand thing, but in your contemporary society, this may not be the case where you have something, you know, as a regular sized axe in the other hand. You might have it as a right-handed, just a single weapon right-handed, and you can throw it right in.
Do that pretty well.
Thank you, my lord.
And it's a very difficult technique, so if you want to do this, be sure to practice it.
Yeah, that's something that Thran could tell you a lot about. As you said to me before, that this would be a practiced technique. This is not something he just did miraculously. We believe he probably.
No. If this was done in that saga and he did it like that, I think he practiced.
I think he did like we did and stood out here and just kept doing it until he just.
Because you want to flip it, the mind wants to flip
Yeah.
it. You want to, but you can't because the distance you don't have enough time to. Even if you try to sharpen the revolution, you're not going to do it. Even if you try to get the handle out of the way sideways, it's going to be way too far.
No, you can't. And your natural instinct, your mind's going to tell you over and over. This is going to get frustrating the more you practice it. You're gonna want to break your wrist over and flip, and that's one thing you don't want to do. Thran taught me how to do this, and we're trying to teach you. Don't let the wrist break open. Just don't let it break over. Just let it go. You just do your chop and let go. Chop and let go. And chop and let go. It does it on its own. It'll come right out of your hand. Very natural.
All right, another idea I have is that he might have had a one-handed axe that would have been used with a sword and shield that has a nice reach and a handle on it. So you can reach out, get people, and you can also defend with it because you wouldn't want to block with the edge of your sword. It's not really a great fence. A lot of berserker would always have a spear or an axe as the offhand or something like this, not necessarily a Francisca or throwing axe or something like that. So if he was fighting and the guy did not expect it, because it's one of these things that kind of reaches out and gets you. He's got a longer handle, and the guy wouldn't expect him to be able to swing over a certain distance low to hit his leg or something. Well, let's say right here the foot was there, and he takes it, and he doesn't expect this. He moves his shield down but leaves his foot open. He can throw it directly into the foot while defending himself. And at that point, you'd get your kill right there. And this was done with a big axe, but look how much further away that reach was. So he's standing here, he goes down, or put the other foot forward. Actually, you'd have your shield. All right, you reach down with your shield to stop it, but it hits your foot. You didn't expect that. Goes through the foot, boom. I step in and take the blow, or however the blow would come in well. I mean, however I could get it over that shield.
That's beautiful, Thran.
Yeah, that's what I was
damn
trying to
beautiful.
explain is I think it could have been a big axe like this, not necessarily a throwing
Yeah.
axe or a small axe. But heck, you could use anything. I mean, heck, I could pull out my sax and just throw it directly into that same foot. See, I hit the exact same
That's like
spot.
throwing a Bowie knife in somebody's foot.
Sometimes it doesn't hit exactly right, but throw it directly into the foot, and it would be the same effect because he doesn't realize you're throwing out in front of you. So you're
Right.
sitting here, you throw out in front of you. If it hits that foot, he's going to immediately
And
be
the way it's supposed to look is it's supposed to look like you're taking a slice at him or taking a swing
right.
at
To
him.
him, he sees this. So if I had a spear,
His
I could show
natural
you something
reaction
really
would be
good.
to-
But I'll show you that in a second. Well, anyway, all I can say about this whole episode here is it reminds me of something that happened to me in real life. I was
Whoa.
at an event and I was fighting Lord Gordon Redwolf, and he
know
had a
of him.
spear with a cross piece. I mean, it was basically
It's winged, yeah.
Yeah, it was a crossbjot, just like this, and he was fighting me, of course, SCA spear, and it's not legal to actually throw anything, but he was sitting here doing this number, thrusting at me, and I parried. I moved, but he only had so much reach, and I was trying to stay out of his range, out of his reach. So as you see, this thing can't reach you in the camera there, but all of a sudden, magically, the spear hit me in the face, and I didn't see what he did. All I saw was the spear.
And
boom.
suddenly you're declared dead.
Right, and this is the
Wouldn't you
magical
know
thing
it?
we have here. We have the weapon leaping out and getting somebody. Just like if you had a sword and you're swinging, and then all of a sudden you move back thinking this thing won't reach you, and boom,
He
it
kind
got
of
hit.
lodges it a
Just
little.
lets it go a little far enough to hit the guy in the face. But we're not allowed to do that. But he did to me as a dirty
Right,
trick.
but we've
It-
done
I
that
still
for
call it a
centuries
kill.
in real combat.
Right, I call that a kill because if you were just that far from the guy's face and you just take that risk and let go of it because he just stepped out a little bit out of range thinking that you can't get him and it's going to nail him, you'd do it.
Yeah, sure you would.
Especially in single combat.
I believe it. I really do.
So I honestly see,
And
I don't see the sword throwing as often or sax throwing, like at somebody while you're fighting normally.
Yeah.
Because you lose a weapon if you're fighting with two weapons. That was
I
very
agree.
uncommon anyway. But the spear, I definitely see that with a shield on your back and a backup sword. I could see somebody doing that in single combat.
Sure thing. Yeah.
And it worked. I mean, I sat there and this thing, I thought I had this much from my face, and the next thing I know,
You know what?
I'm dead.
I think
it hit
I
me
think,
so hard in the face it rocked my
I
whole
really
shoulders
think our
and my head.
experiments with the axe to the foot technique from Anthony
Be the
Cook
same
and the
thing.
Sonic-
He thinks you
but
can't
that
hit his
proves
leg
it
because
right
the shield's
there.
in the way, and then all of a sudden it's through your foot. It's the same
that
kind of
proves it.
technique, and then you take advantage
Yeah,
of the.
it really shows that it's viable from any angle, whether you're going to throw it to the face, to the foot. If you're close enough to let it go and give it that short little flight,
That's basically what the technique
you're
is.
using inertia to carry
And it could
right
be
in.
either hand or whatever. You can pull something out and do that.
Yep, that's simple.
Even if it didn't hit the foot, if you threw a knife at somebody's foot, he's going to.
I think
I mean, in real
yeah.
life, you're going to distract him long enough that if
That
you
you
did hit his
get your
foot, he's
next-
going to be scared.